a little touch of that colour. So what I'm going to do now is just on the top of that colour, which is still wet, I'm going to come in with some yellow ochre, and we'll hopefully get a little bit of blending, which we are. So that's a much closer colour to the iris of the goat's eye. Now, this little burst of red I've got here, that's not really what's going on in the painting. I quite like it, but at the same time it perhaps looks a little bit like, you know, the goat's got a red eye, so it's not, and we can't really see the eye from the angle we're looking at. So I don't want to hide it completely, but I don't want to it to be quite as prominent as it is. So let's just soften that a little bit. So that's working a little bit better now. Next, let's begin to introduce some even deeper shadows. So this is a mixture of burnt umber, cadmium red, and ultramarine blue. And just like I was selective with the highlights, I'm just going to try and pick out the very darkest regions as we move around the goat's head. So the outline, you know, normally when you paint eyes, you don't want to overly outline them, but on this particular goat, there are quite strong and very deep shadows on the edges of the eyes. So we'll just add a touch more of that on the left-hand corner, and now I'm going to take the same colour and use it on the goat's nostril. And we can continue that along the seam of the mouth. And also, once again, picking out the very deepest shadows, or, you know, if not the deepest shadows, then perhaps areas that I want to emphasize slightly. And we may as well, I've just realised, may as well use that same colour again in the eye to begin to bring that to life. So you can see that just adding a couple of areas of shadows and highlights have started to bring the head into much better definition, but we haven't finished yet. I've switched to pure ultramarine blue now, and I'm going to use that not along this the entire length of this line that I've put down, but just pop in a couple of little areas. So when you look at lines of shadows, you know, the colours of those shadows, they do change. And it's not, you know, it's normally quite subtle, but, you know, we can have some fun enhancing that colour change. Right, coming back in with the titanium white, you can just strengthen up some of the key highlights again. So I'm applying the paint more thickly than I did before. And add in a few little areas around the eye where the hair is falling slightly over the top of the eye. light is catching. Now I need to put a bit of a highlight in the eye, so I'm using cadmium yellow with a little bit of the titanium white. So that's improved that area. I still need to make the pigmentation around the nose a little bit stronger though. So I'm coming in now with a deeper purple. That's perhaps too much the other way, so let's lighten that with a bit of titanium white. And a little bit more as we move to the lower part of the nose and along the mouth. And in doing that, I obliterated the nostril, so I need to put that back in. There we go. That's looking a bit more convincing now. Now I need to do a little bit of extra work around the eye here. So I'm using, again, the titanium white, but I've added a little bit of the colour I had on the brush before. But now with a bit more white added to that. Oh, that was perhaps a bit too much, but we'll see. We'll see how that works. I may leave that as it is. Wasn't quite what I intended to do, but I think it's worked out okay. I just want to soften this shadow area we've got to the left of the eye here, and put in a few more areas of light on the back here as well, but without killing some of the work I've done already. We'll do the same on the neck, on the back. So for the moment I'm going to leave the head, and I'm going to move now to work on the lower legs, on the front legs I should say. So continuing with that technique of the slightly off-white, I just want to so we're just lightening up the forelegs, and the idea here is that by using brighter light on the front legs, it'll help push the rear legs back into the distance. Now obviously there's not a huge distance between the front and rear legs of this goat, but we still want to try and create some illusion of depth. So this is titanium white mixed with a little bit of ultramarine blue and a little bit of the purpley brown colour that I had before. So having added that to the front legs, I'm now coming in with a shadow colour. So this is burnt umber mixed with ultramarine blue and cadmium red again. And as you can see, I'm using that to just pick out the little gap in the front feet here. And we can also use some of that to just suggest some deeper shadows between the feet and the ground. I'm also going to pop the same colour with just a touch of white added along a line here on the knee. Little touch there. There. Now I picked up a bit of wet white then, which wasn't intentional, but that's okay, we can get away with that. And then I've mixed a bit more yellow into that same colour, and we'll use some of that on the knees there as well. And in fact we can continue with that colour